Yo, and welcome back to the Banter Boys podcast. My name is Sanji. With me is Ross. How you doing, Ross?
Welcome. This past week of everything, football particularly, has been so overtiring and so I'm kind of burnt out, man. I'm like, bro, season finish, null and void or not null and void, whatever. I just want this next season to start at this point. I'm done at this moment.
I totally agree. It was very brutal this week, handling the highs and lows of the game week. I had to take a break from some social media as well. It was just too much, notifications here, notifications there. I felt like, maybe I'm losing sight and enjoyment for the game because of fantasy. So I decided to turn everything off and actually, sit down and just watch some football without looking at the points on the side. And it did help, not gonna lie. But yeah, I get you though. It's getting to the point where even the players are like, it's way too many games, man. Why you guys trying to schedule more games? Give us a break. Give us a break.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see the Gundogan tweet?
Yeah, I saw the Gundogan tweet, his worry about, even though they scrapped the ESL, they're trying to change the format of the Champions League, which I believe they are going to, and it just kind of means more games for them, right? And it feels like now we're just considering the footballers and the fans as playthings for all these rich uncles that are running their clubs.
Exactly.
Right? As long as it's making money at the end of the day, what else matters?
Yeah, man. I don't get it. I was on a constant feed of refresh, Command F, Control F, whatever. And it was brutal and I hate myself for doing it, but it was I'm done at this point, dude. Football results aside, right? This is something bigger than football. And I know we'll get into it in a bit, but
yeah.
I was so man, what is going on?
Yeah, that definitely didn't help tensions during the game week. It just felt like football was dying altogether, and the joy for it, the happiness behind it. But you know what? Let's not start the pod on such a depressing note. Ross, before we get started, why don't you remind listeners how they can find us and engage with us?
Yeah, so you can find us on social media, so on Twitter or on Instagram. Our handles at BanterB. On Discord, on the Draft PL Discord channel, we are under the username of BanterBoys, #6585. And on Reddit, you can also find us. We are pretty active on the Draft PL subreddit, and our username is u/banter_boys. Whatever slash that they use. And to find our podcast, now I feel like this is gonna be this whole little spiel that's gonna take a whole minute at the start of podcast.
There you go.
So you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and on SoundCloud, and you can find us on YouTube as well. The channels and our name is Banter Boys, so check us out.
Alright, so listeners, welcome to episode 39. I don't think we even mentioned the numbers on our episodes when we record anymore. I figure we should probably start doing that. So we're gonna do this week's episode a little different. We don't like doing the same thing over and over. Change is the spice of life, right? That's what they say. So, blank game week, we decided to do a quick pod because the game week starts tomorrow as well. So just a reminder, Man City, Spurs, Southampton, and Fulham don't play this week. So if we don't talk about them, just don't be scared. They're just not playing games, right? Don't start dropping all your assets. We're gonna let you know which ones to hold on to and which ones to kick. So
good that we mentioned it right at the start.
Yeah, usually we just kind of mention this at the end of the pod. Alright, so in the first half, what we're gonna do is a quick league catch up. We'll run through the Twitter questions in this half, actually. And also give you those injury updates for all the players. We'll take our halftime pint, and then in the second half, we're gonna do a mashup of discussing the teams that are playing this game week, while trying to give some predictions and some hot free agent / waiver picks. Alright, Ross. I know this is a brutal way to start the pod, man, but let's jump straight into the OG League. How was it for you this week?
I'm not officially out of playoffs. But I am right now out of a playoff spot. I lost by like 6 points, and primarily due to my own poor team management. I had Johnny Evans on the bench, and I played the likes of Daniel Podence and Stuart Dallas, who got negative 1.5 point and like a positive 1 point. Both had yellow cards, right? So if neither of them had yellow cards, I would have won. So like that's the other side of this whole thing.
But I don't think you can be too hard on yourself having started Podence, though. I think the average manager would, considering his form lately, even though he's coming back from injury.
Yeah.
The decision I was really surprised that you made, and I think it's because you did not get up in time, was playing Thomas Partey, Arsenal versus Fulham.
He still had 6.5 points at the end of the day, so I'm not even super worried about that.
Fair enough.
Right? Like, yeah, had I woken up, like, so the first thing I checked when I woke up was, okay, what's my score? Partey got 6 points. That sounds about an okay number of points if he starts. And like, I didn't even realize he didn't start. So, and then I woke up and then I looked at it much closer, and I think someone messaged me like, Ross, why'd you play Partey? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like he didn't come off. He came off the bench. 21 minutes, 6.5 points. You know what? I'll take it. What my biggest mistake was trusting Man City's defense, because I played Ederson and I saw Zinchenko starting, and I was like, the only way to make a win is to go off the City brigade. So I had Ederson and Zinchenko, and I started Rodri. Rodri scored a goal, but Ederson didn't get the points that he needed. Zinchenko got like 3.5 points or something. And I made the decision that I wouldn't play Johnny Evans because Zinchenko started. Had Zinchenko been on the bench like he usually is, right? Half and half on, half off, I would have been fine. I would have won. But you know what? Sometimes that's a cruel game, and it's just a part of it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about my game anymore, Sanji. You go.
Couple things about your game week as well. I don't mean to rub salt in your wound, Ross, but the reason I want to kind of dissect your game week a bit is just, come on, you're one of the Banter boys. I want to see you in the playoffs. I want the best for you, right?
Fair enough.
So, another thing that was really painful to take, I'm sure, is losing that double City clean sheet in 21 seconds as well, right? So, it was like, the hope was like instantly vanished right off the bat. But what I was curious about was, you made a potential offer to me. You wanted Willy Bolly, I think, and you were offering me Johnny Evans as part of a trade during the game week, right? Because Wolves were playing Sheffield,
yeah,
guaranteed clean sheet, why not? So I made the suggestion to you, you know what, I'm going to keep Bolly, but Eric Nouri is free. You know what, he also got the clean sheet, but what I was so surprised to see was that you ended up benching Johnny Evans, even though you offered him as an asset. So I thought maybe you would have played him at least. So, we got the explanation behind that now. It's just unfortunate that Leicester's game was the last game in the game week.
Yeah, that's kind of it, right? If I would have risked, had the City game been the last one and Leicester been the game before, I wouldn't have risked playing Zinchenko, because I was like, sometimes he starts, sometimes he doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So,
and Zinchenko has been smashing it recently in the league, right? So why would you not start him against a fairly goal-shy Aston Villa team that is still missing Jack Grealish?
Exactly.
Honestly, I think it just, things kind of just didn't go your way this week. I still have faith in you. Don't give up, Russ. I still think you can do it, mate. Alright, let's jump across to my team now. So, interestingly enough, my game week started 60-1. Because my opponent had both Siggy and James, while I had Serge Aurier. But we all know how the weekend went. The ESL tried to start, Mourinho got sacked. So, the luck kind of changed a little bit, and I ended up winning my game week 153-130. I think I got the highest score in the OG League this game week. Pretty good.
Just about. Like, I think Neeraj also had 150.
Yeah, 150, but it's Neeraj, right? We all know how Neeraj is doing this season, and you know what, the way he's performing, I think that first spot is pretty much sealed for him. So congratulations on your perk, Neeraj, for next season. And you know what, I was happy considering I had benched the likes of Luca Dean, James Ward-Prowse, and even Chris Wood, who racked up like around 29 to 30 points altogether. So I was happy, because I was able to pick back up Greenwood on the waiver wire. He pitched in with his 2 goals. I picked up Gabriel Martinelli, at like 7:30 in the morning as soon as lineups came out because Pepe was benched. That worked out nicely as well. He got me the 17 points without any goal or assist. And honestly, we'll talk about him in the picks and whatnot, but he is definitely one that you guys should be watching out for.
Yeah.
And then, you know what? I had the double up of the Chelsea defenders that came through, even though Alonso came off early, and the double Wolves CS. So it worked out nicely. Like, I picked Boli as soon as the lineups came out as well, right? Because he had recovered from COVID. Not a lot of people had their eyes on him. And there wasn't a lot of news out about him. So, you know what? I kind of just was able to react when the lineups came out. And that's probably how you're going to have to manage the rest of your fixtures going into playoffs, Ross. You're probably going to have to wake up a bit earlier now, mate.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Alright, so, I mean, look at the standings though, right? Even though you're in 7th place, 6th place is just only 1 point above you.
Yep.
I mean, it's not that much in control, like your future, but it's still not that far from you, right? And the person who's in 5th right now, who's in 54 points, Zubain, he really hasn't even been managing his squad properly, right? And then you look above that, I'm tied with him on 54 points in 4th, and then Daniel, 55 points in 3rd, Khayyam, 57 points in 2nd, and Neeraj running away with it in 1st with 63 points. So, I mean, if you think you're out of it, then Zayn definitely has a chance, because now Zayn, even though he's in 8th place, 42 points, he's only 7 points behind Rohail, right? So if you give up, that's basically saying that Zayn has a place in playoffs. Are you really going to let that happen?
How many games? We have like 3 games left, right?
Yeah, 33, 34, 35, right? 3 game weeks.
Ideally, I hope I win all of them, but like, let's see what happens. Sanji, can you lose next week?
Yeah, considering we're playing each other next week, eh? Alright, let us jump across to the Banter Boys League. I think you've had enough pain for one podcast.
Yeah.
Alright, how did you do in the Banter Boys League? I know you're smashing it in that league, though.
Yeah, man. I am pretty sure I won. Even though you told me you're going up against the duo of Kane and Son, like, you know, the 4 games between both of them. I was like, yeah, like, that's a big thing, but I think I won, and I think I just squeaked out a win. We have to do the math. The auto subs haven't corrected in yet, and there's a correction on like the second yellow card and the red card that Fantrax does, where if a player gets 2 yellow cards, it credits them with a second yellow card, which is a -4, and a red card, which is a -7. So I don't know why it does that, but I should have enough points coming off my bench. 26 from Gareth Bale and 23.25 from Johnny Evans to just get me past, like, by like 0.5 or something. Super happy. You know what? Like, I'm going to be ending up on like 130 points or something. I had to do that last minute switch where I had to bring on Gareth Bale. He was on my bench, and because I didn't start him the first game because he didn't start. But had I known Jose Mourinho was going to get sacked, I would have played him, because why wouldn't a new manager play Gareth Bale? So, like, Gareth Bale's on my bench, and he's locked in as a forward. So on this last day, I had to drop. I'd taken off Yuri Tillmans and put in a dud midfielder. And I was like, okay, like, Gareth Bale would come on as midfielder, but Gareth Bale, since he was locked in as a forward, I had to replace Kelechi and bring him on my bench and play Yuri Tillmans and bring in a dud forward there. But Kelechi also smashed it. Another goal, right? He's having a great run, and we'll talk about it a bit more when we do like the predictions and a bit of a review. But like, he also gave me 19 points, but I couldn't bring him on because I have Gareth Bale coming on instead of him. So regardless, I think I've won. GG, Seth. I did tell you to kind of make that correction out of fair sportsmanship, because I don't want you to, like, you know, come back to me in a couple of weeks, be like, bro, what a bad sportsman you are, and stuff like that. And it can still swing either way. Like, you know, Fantrax has those little, like, you know, swings of like 0.5 here and 0.5 there. So anything can happen. But at this moment, if my math is correct, I should be winning by 0.5.
Yeah, it's funny how the one thing you warned listeners and fans about Spurs locking early into your lineup is the one thing that almost bit you in the ass for this game week.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see owners bench Gareth Bale, bench Lucas Moura in a double game week and not play on the gamble that, you know what, they might bench the first game, but still beast in the second game. And I feel like a lot of managers might have missed out on points because of that.
Yeah, benching Bale makes sense because his like involvement in the Spurs team plus Kane got injured, right? So like you can't predict those things. But benching Moura is an interesting one because even if he doesn't start, he'll start at least one game and he'll come on for at least 30 minutes, 35 minutes in the second half or something. So like that's an interesting bench.
I love the commitment to Daniel Podence in this squad as well. Negative 3.5 points.
You know what? I don't even
don't worry, man. The faith will be repaid. I'm sure it will. All right, so you ended up getting your win, hopefully. We'll see how the calculations come out. But I think I should have managed a win as well based on auto sub calculations, maybe by just a few points. I probably didn't deserve the win because, like, I'm not that concerned in this league just because I feel like my playoff spot is sealed and I feel like I'll be able to keep my second spot and get my bye for that playoffs. But yeah, I mean, nothing too bad about the decisions I made for this squad, I think, because auto sub players that are gonna end up getting benched are like James Maddison. I kept him on the bench, but you know what? He scored 12 points on his return to the starting lineup, so definitely won't be benching him moving forward once he doesn't go to any more naughty parties. Oh, look, the score's just updated as well, Ross. The subs just went through, mate. It looks like 132.75 points to you, and Saif ended on 128.25.
Yeah, with the correction of the second yellow card hasn't gone through though.
Yeah, so that would be what? Plus...
He'll still lose, plus 4.
Plus 4. So he'll still lose by 0.5 points. You're just trying to make him lose by a more painful margin is all. Oh, man. But, you know what? Back to my squad. I had, like, bench the likes of Nathan Redmond, Timo Werner. Those guys didn't start. But, you know, guys like João Moutinho still ticking along with his ghost points. Guys, go grab him if you don't have him. He's been smashing it since he started to get his consistent run of games. But my Chelsea boys didn't really do much. Same with my Jesus boy. He only got 2 points. But yeah, I won my game week 80.75 to 75.5. It's so weird to have games by 0.25 now. It can be very painful to lose by that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we look at the standings, Ross. Manos continues to march on ahead with another win, 72 points at the top. I'm in second place with 60 points. Ross, you are in third place with 57 points. Behind you is a tie for 5th place, right? 51 points. Both Justin and
fourth
Saif.
place.
Oh, 4th place, right. So that means Kyle is in 6th place then with 48 points. And Ryan with 42 points. 5 wins on the bounce. Can we talk about Ryan for a minute?
You know what? If he pulls it off, like, GG, man. GG. Like, that's incredible. So, you know.
It would have been one of the best turnarounds.
Yeah, I'm not gonna root for one player or the other. Like, it's like, but I really hope for, like, you know, a nail biter, right? Like, you know, right till the end.
Yeah, for sure. All right, leagues went okay, right? But let's look at the perfect 11. I was really happy about this one because Ross, I finally messaged you. I finally got your advice, and we fucking smashed it, homie.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remember sending you a screenshot. Bro, we're like 7th best team in the league at the moment for this game week. Like, what a recovery. But we look at the game week, right? Our outfielders scored 134.5 points and our goalkeeper 12 points. So for our perfect 11, we went with Patricio in net, Trent, Semedo, and Rodon in defense. In midfield, we went with Lingard, Mateus Pereira, Mason Mount, Paul Pogba, and up front, we went with Harry Kane, Son, and Adama Traore. So altogether, that kind of pushed our standings up a little bit, and now we're sitting at 62nd place, which isn't too bad. Like, it's not horrible. Could be better, obviously, but you know what? Mm-hmm. Definitely a step in the right direction, and you know what? I'm looking forward to the damage that we can do in the remaining weeks for the season.
Yep.
All right. Ross, now that we've done our league catch-ups, let's jump across to those Twitter questions. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, so the first, because of all the news over the weekend with the Super League and stuff, And that's the exact same day where we published our tweet to ask for questions. A lot of people asked about what is the Super League? If we could, like, Soraya and Ryan kind of collectively asked together on what is the Super League and what it would mean. And like kind of pros and cons with as little bias. And Sanji, you sent me this question and I was like, I'm sorry, Soraya. I have 100% bias and altogether where I don't like it and I think it's gonna be horrible for the game. So I don't even think I can like hide my bias here.
I've got some I'm gonna play devil's advocate for this episode.
But and then we had people asking what would happen if your favorite team joining the ESL. Seth asked that, and then what are your thoughts on the Super League? Leon asked that, and Danielle posted a YouTube link for a video where it was like cash money with like ESL logo or something.
I saw that.
Right?
It was mad parody.
And you know what? Danielle, it describes it perfectly. So we can start off. So, Sanji, do you want to give a little summary of what the Super League is and what it would mean? Or do you want me to do it?
I mean, you could do it if you want. Sure, yeah. Why don't you go for it? Since you're all pro against ESL.
Against. I will try to show my bias as much as I can. So, the basic idea of the Super League was that the 6 English clubs, the so-called Big Six, and 6 other clubs from all across Europe. Apparently, there are 3 more also in the talks that were supposed to join, but we didn't really figure out who those were. So the 6 other ones were the 3 clubs from Spain, so Barca Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and 2 from Italy. And 3 from Italy. So Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan, and all these 12 clubs together were essentially breaking away from UEFA and UEFA competitions, saying that we are creating our own competition. It would be like a midweek competition where they would still participate in their domestic leagues, but midweek, instead of playing UEFA competitions, they would be playing the ESL. And because they're the 12 members and 12 founding members of the ESL, they would get essentially there would be no consequence of them for doing poorly in their domestic leagues or doing poorly in the ESL, where they would always retain their place in this competition. The 3 other teams, we don't know. Apparently they were also going to be founding members and also kind of hold the same status of not being relegated from the ESL or not losing qualification from the ESL, but they left 5 other spots open for like teams who could essentially qualify for it, teams who've been doing well in their domestic leagues and could qualify it and stuff like that. Essentially, they would be kind of invited in, right? Like, welcome to kind of like the Rich Boys Club, essentially. Exactly, right? So that's kind of what the essential format of it. The way that they would do it is that it'd be midweek games. It'd be very Americanized, right? For those who watch like NBA and NFL. Like there'd be 2 conferences with like 10 teams each. The top 4 from each conference would go forward and play in the quarterfinals, and they would kind of go towards playing in a final game in a neutral venue. The thing that made this, first of all, like no relegation and no consequence of doing poorly in your domestic leagues and in the ESL was obviously a big one. Another one was that their initial essential buy-in was that they would get $350 million or 350 million euros, whatever currency, as like setting up, like, welcome to this, here's $350 million. And they had a big share in terms of also setting up essentially the infrastructure of the whole competition. So all in all, it was basically these 12 owners and these 12 board presidents that were like, we need to break away, because like they had their qualms with UEFA and how UEFA is set up and how UEFA kind of runs the show in terms of European competition. And this was a way where they could kind of take control back into their own, like kind of take control back from UEFA, but at the same time it was doing it at the behest or at like the cost of their domestic leagues, their domestic competitions, and the rest of the teams in Europe who will be impacted by not having the same monetary benefit of of that the 12 teams would get or the 15 teams would get, right? So essentially the rich would get richer because they would keep continuing these competitions, keep getting a big buyout at the end of the season, keep building their squads, where the rest of the teams wouldn't have that same form of like financial backing that these 12 teams are getting. So those are my essentially, like, you know, that's how best I can explain it. And that's how, like, those are the negatives where in my end, where it would completely destroy what they call the football pyramid in European football, in the Premier League, in the sense that, like, Liverpool could finish 17th and will still be playing ESL next year. Liverpool doesn't care about, like, you know, their domestic, as much as they would say, yeah, no, we want to play, but they would basically, what Gary Neville said it was, treat their domestic leagues like the Carabao Cup. And those who watch the Carabao Cup know that you tend to play your youth teams in it, your B teams, your bench more, rather than like you play your starting 11, because, like, you know, it's an opportunity to rest your players, and it's an opportunity of not giving enough attention to it because there's not that big of a financial payout in doing well in the Carabao Cup. Whereas they would do all their potential for it. And you know what? Like, I get the frustration of wanting to pull away from UEFA, because this isn't like letting go of UEFA of any, like, you know, corruption or any, like, you know, mismanagement of football in Europe. But at the same time, there's still two evils. This at the moment was a much bigger evil, because it was destroying the roots that football is kind of based off of. The working class, the every man's group, right? That's how football in these countries started, where there were workers in the factories, there were workers in, like, the docks and stuff like that. I actually heard this really cool story about Arsenal, who the reason why they wore red and white was because when they were starting off, Arsenal was a team that started off in, like, the armament factory, and that's what their team is. That's what their team name is, Arsenal. But because they were so poor, and the team, like Nottingham Forest, who also wore red and white, was a very established team at that point. Nottingham Forest basically gave them all their extra shirts because Arsenal couldn't afford them, and those shirts were red and white, and that's why Arsenal, to this day, their iconic colors are red and white, because that's how they kind of started off. I was really interesting, but you kind of see the roots of these teams, and now you're basically not contributing the same communities that these teams have kind of, like, built in, and are, like, you know. So those are my thoughts on it. Sanji, you can go with your pros. I'm gonna be booing in the corner right here.
That was a beautiful history lesson that you kind of just threw in at the end there. I really like that. That was nice. No, I mean, I totally get what you're saying, like, about it was just like a giant middle finger to the fans and history and culture and traditions. And I'll be honest, while this news was breaking out, I didn't really go hunting for updates or hunting for what was going on. I was pretty much being told by multiple groups, oh, you know, this has just come out. Oh, this is the new rule. Because in my head, I'm like, no fucking way. This is, like, it's gonna happen, right? So let the dust settle. Let's find out what... Because, I mean, it came to a point when I heard that, the clubs concerned will be banned from playing in any other competitions at domestic, European, or world level, and their players could be denied the opportunity to represent their national teams. I was like, bruh. When Perez was like, yo, we'll make our own World Cup. Like, fuck y'all. Like, I was like, bro, this is never gonna happen. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no way. So that's why I was just listening to both sides of it. And it was mostly just one side, because I don't think anyone was really like, oh, pro ESL. But you know what? I would still like to think that obviously there would be some sort of a plus side to what they're trying to achieve. They just went about it in a very, very bad way, right? So, you know what? I'm gonna give you the pro side to the ESL competition, and I'm gonna keep my source anonymous. I had a discussion with him. It was kind of interesting to hear the points that he or she had to say. I feel like I already gave away the gender, but whatever. But yeah, I'm just gonna read out, like, a little excerpt from the discussion, right? So, why are we defending football, which is already corrupt as fuck? Football can be less corrupt if it's coordinated with the big players and tied directly to commercial partners versus local government. TV dollars has made the EPL more fair in general, and even then, the richest people in the world have come in and tilted it back in their singular favor so that the person with the biggest wallet and commitment to spend has come out on top. Mind you, it's no surprise that 6 of the 12 nations came from England. If you're so anti-ESL and you support one of the 12 clubs, then you should be against the club from the very beginning. If you look at the International Champions Cup that they were doing in pre-season, note, this isn't run by the same group as the ESL. That International Champions Cup tournament has been a wild success in taking clubs all over the world and making money from it. And you could have even filled in more favourable time slots, not just European evening ones. So that's just a small excerpt, couple points that he had to say. What do you think?
I think at the end of the day, it still kind of comes down to, like you said, the middle finger to the fans, middle finger to the communities that these clubs are in, because it went up. Like I get the idea of taking back control from the clubs, right? But you are also taking back football away from the fans through this, right? There's a reason why Leeds fans were marching as Liverpool kind of came into the stadium. There's a reason why Chelsea fans were literally stopping the bus from coming in, where Peter Cech had to literally go down personally and be like, we will figure this out. Can you please let the bus through, right? Like, there's a reason why the fans were on the streets protesting, putting flags up, taking away banners away from the stadiums and all of this, right? The players are against it. Jurgen Klopp immediately said, yes, I'm still against it, but I don't know enough about it. Milner immediately said, yes, I'm against it. Like, he didn't hope that happens. I think Patrick Bamford immediately said probably one of the most accurate thing is the reason why there was such a big uproar from these professional bodies, the UEFAs, the FIFAs, and the FAs, was that their wallets just got a bit lighter, right? Because their wallets got a bit lighter, they were reacting about it. Like, I'm not gonna, forgive UEFA, the FAs, and they're absolutely right. The game is already corrupt. The billionaire owners of these big 6 teams are incredibly corrupt and have taken away from what these teams stand for. But that doesn't mean they're the ones that take control, because they're not being like, I'm gonna put in all this money to make the clubs better. They're like, how can I make my pockets bigger, right? Maybe the club sees a little investment from those funds eventually, but at the end of the day, it's about how these Big 12 teams and these Big 12 owners were going to make these clubs. We're going to make themselves richer, right? Instead of 2 holiday houses, they'll have 10 holiday houses. Obviously an exaggeration, but like that, those are my thoughts from it, right? I'm glad it got taken down. We're still hearing rumors and like experts from like Perez saying that like it's not down, it's just put aside at the moment until we kind of do the proper process, right? Like, it was a big slap in the face when Liverpool did pull out, and it gave 47 words. No sorry, no nothing. Yeah, the owner gave an apology afterwards, but 47 words on like, we have stepped away from the ESL, right? That's a slap in the face of not just the community, but the players that you essentially employ, your coaching staff, and to all the fans in the world of Liverpool.
I mean, Manchester United did something similar as well. Arsenal, I know, had a lengthy apologetic response to their fans. But yeah, we talk about Manchester United. They had a similar sort of public apology as you guys. And what's sad is that in the Stratford end, they hang a banner by Sir Matt Busby saying, football is nothing without the fans.
Yeah. And Rashford tweeted that right in the morning of the Liverpool Leeds game, right? So
yeah,
I'm glad it got taken down. I'm glad, we can hopefully move forward from this and keep continuing the process of how do we make the game better.
Yeah.
Because I understand where your source is coming from, because the game is already corrupt. But I don't think these billionaires are the stakeholders or like the proper stakeholders to make the game better.
Yeah, honestly, the saddest thing for me out of all of this was this should have been the reaction behind all the racism stuff. And it's still not.
100%.
right?
Yeah.
The
Right.
energy is just being put into the wrong things right now. But anyways, we were planning to do almost an entire episode about the ESL and chat about it, but because they closed it down, everything got shut down, we decided to kind of just have a light discussion. So listeners, if you actually want us to do like a proper discussion or have a proper episode about the ESL, we wouldn't mind. Leave a comment down below, or send us a message, and we can definitely arrange something and look into it. But let's finish off the remaining questions that we have.
Yeah. So, in the midst of all this news, what would have been the biggest news of the week was that Jose Mourinho got sacked. And we had a question from Robbie P asking thoughts on any value changes in Spurs players. Now Jose is off. A resurgent Dele Alli. Thanks, Robbie, for asking. Also, by the way, thank you, Danielle, Leanne, Seth, Soraya, and Ryan asking for those questions too.
Thanks, guys.
Again, I was thinking about like what my like response, the entire kind of whole fiasco during it, like why it's bad for me, and like thank you for asking the questions. But back to the Spurs and the Dele Alli question, Sanji, what do you think?
I think Gareth Bale is the first name that comes to mind.
Same.
Because Mason, I can't believe Mason's in charge right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know what? After such a brutal injury, it's good to see him still involved in football.
Yeah.
So kudos to Tottenham for doing that. But yeah, Ryan Mason, new coach. He's a big Gareth Bale fan. He's admitted it himself. So I think Gareth Bale, you know, that was a pretty good finish for his goal as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think definitely Gareth is back. What about you, Russ? What do you think?
That's the first name I was going to suggest too. Gareth Bale. If Dele Alli had to start, did he feature against the Saints whatsoever?
I don't remember him featuring. I don't think he made enough of an impression that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go pick up Dele Alli now.
Yeah, like, you know, maybe he'll start the cup game. God knows, right? So,
yeah.
But again, with every new manager, there's always a reshuffling of personnel, and Dele Alli might get a few more extra looks than you would have under Mourinho. Definitely one to kind of look out for, not one to go pick up right now. Unless it's playoffs and you know this might be like a difference maker. Maybe if you can hoard the player until then, but if you're still kind of striving to make the playoffs like I am in one of my leagues, I don't think you should be wasting the pick on Dele Alli.
Yeah, I agree. What about the likes of like Lucas Moura and Lamella?
Moura maybe more, right? Like, I feel like...
There's Bergwijn as well. He kind of got frozen out by Mourinho.
With Bale and with Kane, hopefully Kane's fine. Like I don't know what his injury status is at the moment, but I think the front three would still be Bale, Kane, and Son. I think what we might see in the midfield is Lo Celso and Dembele start, as we did see over like the last week against the Saints, right? Both Lo Celso and Dembele started. So we might see that. So Lo Celso might be a player that if you can get, I think, go for it.
Yeah, sounds like a good shout. I think we've got one more question.
Yes. So the question is, auto subs, a necessary evil or an unfair advantage? Sanji, we've shared our thoughts on this a lot. I will use it, but I am a big opponent. I hate auto subs. I hate the fact that I have to use auto subs. So, yes, it made me win this week, essentially, but I'm...
I mean, same, but I definitely was all pro auto subs a few seasons ago. It's only this season that we made the change in our OG league, right?
Yeah.
And I will say I do prefer having no auto subs because I believe it forces managers to be more active, to be more attentive, right? And not just get away with easy wins when you wake up on the last day of the game week and you're like, oh, I can just dump a bunch of people because my bench scored everything. Done.
Yeah.
Like, that's a shitty way to, like, manage and win games, right? Like, there's people that actually put in solid effort and there's people that just win by auto subs. So,
yeah.
I don't know, to each their own. But I will say, though, if you are introducing new people to fan tracks, I think auto subs is a good way to ease them into it. It's a more fun way to ease them into it. Yeah. So,
yes. But at the end of the day, I think the goal should always be to not play with auto subs.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. So those are all our Twitter questions. Thank you, everyone, guys and gals, for those lovely questions. So we're gonna jump through the injury updates. Now, remember, listeners, we are getting this information from premierinjuries.com. And if you can't find that website, go follow Ben Dernery on Twitter. He is the injury guru. All right, starting us off, Arsenal. Tierney could be back in 2 to 3 weeks in training. He is apparently doing well since his injury, so not saying go pick him up now, but maybe something to watch out for in playoffs. David Luiz should be back in light training next week. Aubameyang back to light training possibly the end of this week, having recovered or is recovering from malaria. Youch. Odegaard is a doubt, but they're gonna observe him in training. And Lacazette is definitely a doubt as he pulled his hamstring. For Aston Villa, Cash is suspended following his red card versus Man City. Wesley's building fitness with the under-23 squad. Trezeguet had surgery, so he's definitely out for the season. Sanson picked up a knee injury, so that's why the likes of Jacob Ramsey started versus Man City. And Grealish, you know what? Day to day. We'll just have to keep listening to Dean Smith. For Brighton, the only person to be worried about is Ben White. He's suspended following his red card versus Chelsea. For Burnley, Nick Pope, game time decision. They're still having a look at that shoulder. For Chelsea, Thiago Silva, they didn't play him because of recovery issues and sore muscles. But Kovacic, hamstring nigga, so you might end up dropping him for the likes of either Conte or Jorginho. By the way, Mason Mount played next to Conte, but we'll talk about that, his new role in the Chelsea squad. For Crystal Palace, Cahill's nursing a knock and hasn't trained over the last few days, so maybe keep an eye on that. For Nathaniel Klein, he should be back next week, and Schlupp has a knock, but he could feature against his old team in the upcoming game week. For Everton, Andre Gomes needed a bit more time to recover for the match. DCL had a precaution. He had some sort of a niggle on his adductor. Mina is still out for a few weeks, and unfortunately Gabamin, even though he came back recently, he's going to be out for another 8 weeks, man. What a terrible introduction to the Premier League for this guy. So he's basically out until next season. For Fulham, Kongolo is out for the season. He picked up an injury, and Tete missed out the game because of COVID. For Leeds, Cooper is still suspended. Rodrigo and Rafinha had muscular issues that they're still working through on day-to-day notice. For Leicester, Harvey Barnes, again, still weeks away from being on the grass. At Liverpool, Nathaniel Phillips missed this game because of a hamstring issue, but he was pictured in training today, so he could be back. Mm-hmm. By the way, any update on Jota? I noticed that he could be missing the game.
First I'm hearing of it. What's your source here?
Alright, well, I mean, it could just be somebody passing around negative news. We'll, you know what, keep an eye on Jota, look out for flags, look out for updates, because Mane scored in the midweek, so you know what, even though Jota might miss out, Mane might be back in form. For Man City, Stones is going to be missing because he got that red card, and KDB has an injury on his ankle. I would assume they're saving him for the Champions League semi-finals, if anything. For Manchester United, Bailly's still coming back from COVID. For Newcastle United, Frazier's still not back from his groin issues, and ASM should be able to recover from his ankle knock that he picked up versus the win against West Ham. For Sheffield United, Ollie Burke is out for the rest of the season, a metatarsal fracture or something like that. If you really want somebody, only Burge and Robinson are the closest defenders to being back. For Southampton, Bertrand picked up a knock, that's why he missed out, and Ings re-injured that hamstring again, so he could be out for a few weeks. For Spurs, Kane injured his ankle versus Everton and missed out in the second fixture versus Southampton. And Doherty is back in training again. For West Brom, no injuries. Does it really matter? We'll talk about that in a bit. For West Ham, they are missing quite a list. Dawson suspended, Cresswell doubtful, Masuaku fluid in his knee. That doesn't sound good. Lingard has cramp, Rice is training in the gym, still not ready to be back on the pitch, and Antonio, no timeline on his return from his thigh injury. For Wolves, Neto and Johnny are out for the season for sure. Marcel had groin surgery, no estimated time for him to come back, and Neves should be recovering from his COVID still. Alright, Ross, before we jump into the halftime pint, there's a few interesting standout stats that I kind of wanted to throw out, and we might be throwing out every game week. Just, the top performers for a few categories. For the most amount of saves this game week, Hugo Lloris with 9 saves. For accurate crosses, Ben Johnson
for 9 saves per game, or 9 saves over both games?
Okay, so he made 9 saves across both matches. It's still pretty good for a double game week, right? For the accurate crosses, Ben Johnson from West Ham was tied for first with 3 accurate crosses with the likes of Martinelli and Norwood from Sheffield. For shots, Kelechi came out first with 8 shots this game week. 3 on target. And for key passes, your boy Luke Shaw in first with 6 key passes.
Yeah,
and in second, there was a tie between Castagne and ASM. 5 each. Luke Shaw, man, what a monster this season. Alright, guys, I think now it's a perfect time for the halftime pint. We'll be back after the break with those predictions and picks. See you in a bit. And we are back. Alright, Ross. So, before we jump through the predictions, I'm gonna give you some results. You kicked my ass 8-5. You know what? You called a lot of correct results in terms of draws.
I know.
The Liverpool Leeds draw, the Chelsea Brighton draw. I was like, what the fuck is really going on, man?
Yeah, and I almost had the West Ham Newcastle one had it not been for the goal right at the end by Willock. So, almost there.
I mean, funny enough, I did call a 3-2 as well for that game, I mean, it was just for the wrong team, but I feel like in combination, we've got a good thing going on, right? So I thought maybe we'll change up the style for this, maybe discuss the teams a bit more before the predictions, and give maybe the most accurate predictions that we've ever given before. Q 0 versus 0 next week. Alright, so the first game that is kicking us off this game week is Arsenal versus Everton. Friday game, right? So, some notes on both teams. Arsenal, they had their game versus Fulham, right? Matty Ryan was in net for this game. Martinelli got another game as well. This kid has so much energy, man. He really should have scored. There was some great stats on him for this game. He was first for shots. He had 4. Second for key passes, 2 of them. First for open play crosses, 6 of them. First for good crosses, 3 of them. He's just trying to always create something out of nothing. So happy that Arsenal have him back right now.
Yeah, and you know what? We had people on our Twitter kind of calling him trash, and I was like, that's an unfair statement to him because, poor kid's had injuries. And, even after he came back, he got injured again, which kind of, had him out of action for a while. But he's been playing some incredible football, so...
He's only 19 years old.
Only 19 years old.
Yeah, it was very harsh, that comment that we got. Somebody compared him to what? An overpaid Gabriel Obertan or something like that?
I was like, well, man, that's...
I don't know. It was something whack, man. It was whack. But you want to look at Everton. So Everton had their game versus Spurs. It was a 2-2 draw. It was a good game to watch. You watched that game as well, didn't you?
The 2-2 draw, yeah, for a good chunk of it. And Everton had a lot of energy in even though I think Spurs scored first. I think Kane scored first in that game.
Yeah, he did.
But Everton had majority of chances. Everton had majority of the play. Kane scored on a good pass from what's his face.
I want to call it shit defending though for both goals that they conceded.
Yeah,
as well.
For both goals that they conceded, Keane should have put his head on that one, and for the second one, Keane basically headed it
into Holgate's butt.
Holgate's butt, which kind of felt, Kane's not going to give up that chance whatsoever. So. It was shitty defending in those moments and essentially two moments that kind of let you down, but Everton played much better. And even though we said, they don't have any fight or anything, this game they showed that fight.
Yeah, James was on point, man. Shout out to you, Andres. I know you were big on James coming back from the international break because he looks rejuvenated. He looks fresh. He looks sharp. Him and Sigurdsson had a good partnership in the middle, man, especially while they were missing DCL as well. I mean, Rich had his usual first of many chances, pretty much skying everything. Other than the first shot, he actually had that one on target. But I remember, like, he had a chance in the second half that he absolutely missed the goal. He didn't even have it on target. So,
yeah.
I mean, special shout out to Seamus Coleman, came on as a substitute and got an assist. This guy has been smashing it recently in Fantrax so much.
Yeah.
Alright, so let us give a prediction for this game now that we've kind of discussed it, Ross. How do you see this game going?
2-1 Everton.
You really think Arsenal won't be able to, like, nick something out of this, even though Gabby Martinelli is back?
Arsenal have that, like, up and down, right? So I think this might be the game where Arsenal, because I called it. This is the game that Arsenal's going to be on the down, right? So they have this up and down, so this might be, but I don't.
The up! This is the up, bro.
This is the up. But at the same time, if I play it off kind of how they've been playing, they give too much respect to, like, the slightly bigger teams, right? And I think Everton hopefully continue, and Everton are much better away this season.
That is also a good point, yeah.
So I think Everton might take it.
Alright, you know what? I'm gonna go for a Ross special. 2-2.
2-2?
Alright, what are the picks are you gonna suggest from Arsenal, Ross?
Ceballos, he was playing as like a number 10 in the last game instead of like the usual pivot alongside like Partey. So or alongside like the second holding midfielder. So Ceballos, 42% owned. Go get him. Might be a good shout.
He takes some set pieces every now and then as well, right? The odd corner. For me, I'm going to suggest Seamus Coleman, 22% owned. Like I said, recently he's just been smashing it, and it seems it doesn't matter how many minutes he plays. And it feels like it's happened since they kind of, I repeat from previous episodes, they kind of shot in the international tournaments, Seamus Coleman, because I believe he is captain for his country. Yeah. So maybe that might have fueled some sort of reaction from him for the rest of the season. All right, let's look at the next game, Liverpool versus Newcastle. So let's take a look at how Liverpool and Newcastle did in their previous game week. So Liverpool had that 1-1 draw with Leeds. You had called that one, Ross.
I called the draw.
It was interesting to see Salah benched. There was no Nathaniel Phillips. Fabinho did have almost an assist from that crazy run from centre-back for his boy Bobby. But then Bobby had that shit first touch, man.
I would have won like my game week if it had happened, bro. Oh.
I know! I saw that. I was like, damn, bro. Like, Ross missed out on some mad points. But I was really happy to see Mane get his goal. Much, much needed for that guy.
Yeah.
Right? I do have one question. Is Gareth Southgate watching Liverpool play football? Because TAA, man. Another assist.
Yeah, man. And you know what? Like, he was just right at the best place at the best time, but for the assist. But overall, his game was solid. You mentioned Nat Phillips not missing, and had Nat Phillips been playing, I don't think we would have conceded that goal, because he would have just towered that header away and not, because you saw like the defending, if you saw the goal, you kind of saw the defending where it went over Fabinho's head, Kabak couldn't get back in time, but we know Phillips just likes getting into like, great places, and he would have headed that away. So like, but at the end of the day, I think it was all about that second half. And in that second half, Liverpool did not keep up the intensity. Leeds like running. They'll always run even if they're 6 goals down or they're 1 goal down. It doesn't matter. They don't shut off, right? They don't get demoralized. So with Leeds kind of maintaining that intensity in that second half, Liverpool could not keep up with it. And, one chance, Ali kept them up in the game as much as he could. But
yeah, made some really good saves.
But at the end of the day, you know what? Like, Leeds definitely deserved that equalizing goal. So
yeah, it was a great point about Nathaniel Phillips missing out, because I looked at that game. Leeds were putting in so many crosses into the box, and you guys kept struggling with them.
Yeah.
Especially Kabak, right? And the first person I think of is Phillips just clearing everything, winning all those aerials.
Exactly.
That's pretty much why he gets so many ghost points, right? That's how much of an effect he has on that back line. And it's also letting Fabinho push up into midfield as well. But I mean, in the first half alone, I honestly thought you guys should have won the game by then. Even Jota's easy chance from the corner should have scored that. At least get it on target.
That would have also got me the points, because that would have been the combo goal, bro. That's happened a few times, by the way, since Jota has come back. Robertson kind of swings the corner into that near postish area where Jota has incredible height, incredible jump. He'll jump up and like he just skied the header. There's been 2 or 3 chances already which he has kind of messed up, which were exactly like, play by play. Robertson crosses in from the corner and Jota skies the header. So I feel like that's coming.
So basically your own club let you down this game week, is what you're saying.
Yeah. You know what? I let myself down.
Sorry, buddy. Don't worry, you'll recover.
Orva, if you're listening, I unnecessarily got mad at you. I'm sorry, and I know you got pissed off because I called you out even though you have a lot of things going on. So, sorry, Orva. I'm putting it on the air. I'm putting it on the record. I should not have reacted like that. We've all got stuff going on, and I apologize. Throwing that in there.
Just buy him some ice cream, man. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
By the way, last thing about Liverpool. Did you think it was a pen for TAA, that handball thingy?
No,
right
he moved away. He's moved his hand away right at the end. If you saw it from the back angle, like the ball was coming and he went like, I'm like animating it to you, but like our listeners are kind of like just listening to our audio.
Yeah,
but
I know. They can't see you, Ross.
But you kind of saw his hand kind of going towards his back. Like he moved his hand away from it. So you know what?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. I'm glad we got that call. Sometimes we don't. So.
Yeah. So Newcastle, they won against West Ham 3-2. Couple points, their wingbacks, new wingback system, I want to say. Murphy and Richie, man. Murphy takes a lot of shots. He was actually denied a goal line clearance by Ben Johnson. Richie got the double assist. He sometimes takes corners. He was actually one of the players that we suggested this week as one of our picks that we tend to make before games, like each game, like when the lineups come out. We try to like give you a pick that we haven't suggested recently, under 50%. So yeah, that worked out nicely, whoever listened to us. ASM, it's so nice to see this guy play football. I feel like at one point he did like 10 stepovers in like one move, man.
Yeah,
it's so mesmerizing to watch him play.
If you have him and Adama Traore, you're set.
Bro, done. Harry Kane up top, bro, winning the league, alright? Their defense is still pretty terrible, Newcastle. Nothing has changed there, though. And Willock really deserves more minutes, man. He's been scoring some important goals for them.
Yeah.
Alright, let's try to make a prediction for this game, then. Ross, how do you see this one going, mate?
3-1 Liverpool.
Oh, man. I kind of wanted to give the same prediction, because I do think, like, Newcastle need to score, right? And if Nathaniel Phillips is back, you guys will probably do better in defense. Salah is chasing that golden boot as well, right? And if Kane's out injured, he could probably do with a few more goals. And I don't think Salah's gonna get benched for another game in a row, right? Why do you think he was benched, by the way?
Just kind of minutes management in the sense that, like, if people called it, like, I know Deb asked that question last week and some people were questioning, well, he was fasting and stuff, but I think it was just because he started midweek against Madrid. It was just kind of one of those things where, like, Klopp is managing.
All right. Managing his minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess I will go for a 2-0 Liverpool win then. Ross, what are the picks that you're going to suggest?
Nat Phillips again. He should be back. Like you said, he was in training, and Kabak 36%. Nat Phillips is 48%. I think a lot of people dropped him when he wasn't starting over the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. If he's free in your leagues, go pick him up. He's an absolute monster in ghost points. For Newcastle, I'm going to suggest that 2 new wingbacks who play in defense but are actually midfielders. Matt Ritchie, 18% owned, and Jacob Murphy, 14% owned. I'm gonna maybe suggest Joelinton, 30% owned, and Willock, 16% owned, but it's more so if these guys actually start, because there are other players that can play ahead of them, like Callum Wilson ahead of Joelinton, or, Miggy or ASM ahead of Willock. And, ASM started this game as well, so just one to watch. All right, Ross, let's look at the next game, West Ham versus Chelsea. So West Ham ended up losing to Newcastle, right? It was a little wild how they kind of lost this game. I don't know why Dawson kept slide tackling people even though he was on a yellow card. It was so dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that got him sent off was a terrible first touch by him. So it was just like altogether he was just having a really bad day.
Yeah.
I must say that was definitely one of the most comical own goals I've seen in a while. What a great backheel finish by Diop, right? And then the second goal that they conceded was classic Flappy Hansky, just throwing the ball to Joelinton's feet. And you could just see that West Ham are pretty fucked by injuries, man. They rolled out a 3-5-2 with Bowen and Jesse Lingard up top. I mean, Ben Johnson was decent, right? We heard that he had, tied for the most crosses this game week. He put in a good ball for Soufal, who could have scored, right? From the opposite wing. It's good to see Messi Lingard on penalties if you're an owner. We don't know when Antonio could be back. He could take that away from him. But I saw a very interesting stat. Over the last 4 Premier League games, West Ham have actually conceded the most shots, apparently. 67. Leeds, 66 was second. Sheffield United, third, 66. And then Burnley, 63.
Yeah, well, you know what? We've kind of seen it in the recent scorelines where they'll score the few early goals and then kind of step back a bit. And this is kind of what happened this game. Except in this game, they got the red card too. So now they're double on, the back foot. And Newcastle, took the man advantage and, got the win right at the end.
Yeah. And again, I repeat, I don't think they have enough depth or, enough quality to keep that Champions League spot, right? Because I was looking at that game closely as to how West Ham were going about the Newcastle defensive low block. And it just seemed like Jesse Lingard was a class above everyone else. Sometimes his first touch was a pass to other players because you don't have a lot of time in between defensive lines. So you got to try and move the ball as quickly as possible. Whereas you look at Bowen, his first touch was immediately coming back out into the open area and recycling the ball again, which takes away a lot from the attacking play and whatever momentum you've built, right? So, yeah, I still think that West Ham are going to slowly drop points, draw more than they win and lose more than they draw. Alright, and for Chelsea, they had 2 games actually in this game week. One against Man City in the FA Cup, and one versus Brighton in the league. So we'll talk a little bit about the Man City FA Cup game. First 30 minutes, absolute fucking fire. We ran that show, man. Ran that game. Really should have put the game to bed in that first half. And, talk about Ziyech scoring important goals. Scores the winner for this game. Chilwell actually should have gotten a game from a James chance that he created. It was basically a cross from the right wing onto the left. Chilwell should have really scored. And that's why I love Alonso. He's just better at attacking the ball.
Yeah.
For Timo, I mean, still low on confidence, not taking the proper shots, but, playing for the team. He'll probably get you more assists than goals for the rest of the season. Kepa is getting a run of games now, mate. I cannot believe it. And he looks good again. I don't want to say
He looks good in net. Yeah, he looks good in net. Yeah, he does. He's got that, the F-boy haircut with the sides cut and the...
Yeah, he really does. Oh my god, what is that haircut? It is so greasy, bro. But, Pulisic coming back from, being, quote unquote shunned by the manager. But, you know what? Tuchel was right. He knows what Pulisic can offer. And you look at the last few games, it just looks like he's getting more shots off, scoring more goals. He even put the ball in the back of the net for this one, but he was called offside, right? So definitely, if you can get Pulisic for the playoffs, go get him. So some highlights from the Brighton game. We were bleh. We were meh. We were shite. Brighton pretty much snuffed us out. Again, Pulisic got off a lot of shots, but we had a couple of defensive slips that, I talk about where we get too comfortable in games. Zuma tried to dribble out the ball from the back line and Lallana almost made us pay for it. But if I had to take any positive out of this one, Rudiger was very, very brave on the ball. Like, his ability to drive with the ball out from the defense when the other teams are, like, blocking up well or setting up well. Like, it really helps playing out from the back. All right, Ross. So let's look at making some predictions for this game. How do you see this one going?
2-2.
West Ham versus Chelsea? Oh, you gave it a Ross special. Ross, you know what I'm going to go for, though? I'm going to go for a 3-2 to Chelsea.
I want both teams to drop points, so...
Well, obviously you do. But now, this is a must-win game for us. It's like a 6-point game, right, at this point. What are the assets that you're going to suggest from West Ham?
You mentioned that Masuaku has fluid in his knee, but he was still like a game-time decision. But I don't think with fluid in his knee that he'll be back. But there's no one else. Maybe Ben Rama, if you can kind of get him 23% owned, if he starts considering all their injury concerns and stuff like that. So I think that's the only pick that I can kind of think. I don't think you should be picking up a defender for this game in the sense that, like, I think there might be goals. And you know what? Like... You don't want to kind of risk like the negative points and possibly own goals because West Ham loves scoring own goals. So, yeah, Ben Rama, if he starts, go pick him up.
Yeah, and the only player that I can suggest from Chelsea that is realistically under 50% and attainable is Kepa, 19% owned. If he starts, you know what? Play him. What's the worst that can happen? Alright, let's look at the next game. Sheffield United versus Brighton. So quick notes about these teams. Sheffield United, relegation confirmed. You know what? Mm-hmm. It was a matter of time, right? By the way, Norwich confirmed their promotion as well, I believe, on the same day. So welcome back, Norwich.
Welcome back, Norwich.
We will have some pre-season pods about the teams that are promoted. I've already started lining up guests to come on our pod, people that I know watch Championship football, Ross. So good content coming your way, listeners, for sure. So I'm not sure if the pressure will truly be off Sheffield now, if they're actually going to start playing good football now, because Ennis Stevens actually had some decent chances, could have scored, could have gotten some assists in this game. So, one to possibly watch out for. Ampadu, though, I'm pretty sure we're going to sell him. He looked terrible for Sheffield United in his, showing for them.
Really? I thought he's been playing pretty well.
I don't know, man. I feel like I'm starting to notice more defensive mistakes rather than, defensive good blocks. I don't know how. What's the opposite of that? Because look at the game against was it who did they play recently? Wasn't it Spurs? It wasn't Spurs. Who did they play just now?
Sheffield?
Wolves. They played Wolves. Yeah, I honestly thought they should have friggin' scored or done something. Wolves you can probably hurt. And classic Sheffield, they could have scored on one end, go back the other end, and that's how they conceded to friggin' Willie J, bro. If they're conceding to Willie J, what's going on?
But you know what? I think
and
shout out to Adama Traore again. He's getting back in the goals and assists, man. That's 3 goal involvements in 3 games. So keep them coming, Adama.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly on Sheffield, sorry to see you guys go, but you know what? You scored the lowest of all 4 divisions, only 17 goals, and one of the earliest relegations in history with 6 games to go. It was nice having you, but smell it later.
Mm-hmm.
Brighton, they set up well defensively against us. Webster came back, so it's no surprise that they managed to keep a clean sheet. They snuffed out most of our chances. Sanchez wasn't really troubled. He had a bunch of easy saves, a bunch of easy collects. Could have actually won this game because Welbeck hit the post and Lallana, again, remember, had a decent chance from that Zuma mistake. But you know what? Let's look at some predictions for this game. Ross, how do you see this one going?
2-0 Brighton. Yeah, I don't.
You nearly said Sheffield.
Yeah.
You nearly said Sheffield.
I nearly said Sheffield, right? Yeah. I was like, wait, no, not Sheffield. 2-0 Brighton.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty simple scoreline, but I will go with 1 goal extra. I'll go Brighton 3-0. Sheffield, they might be truly out of it, but if there's any upset to come, it could be this fixture. Alright, let's look at the next game, Wolves versus Burnley. Couple notes again. Bowley is back from COVID. They switched back to back 3. He even nearly scored in this game. Who did they play? Sheffield United, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah, the back heel
Right?
chance.
The
Yeah,
back
it
heel
it would have
chance.
been a great goal for this season, man.
And Willie J opened his account. He might get more. And shout out to Adama Ross, like you said. You know what? He could go on proper goal scoring, assist registering form for the playoffs. Ait Nouri. Ross, why didn't you pick him up when I suggested, bro? He even took a
I
corner.
know, he
So.
took a few corners. I was like, what is this kid doing?
So, you know what? Definitely one to consider for your waiver wire, Russ. Let's look at Burnley, though, the team that they're facing. They played Manchester United. They lost 3-1. I thought they were really, really brave. I thought they played really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
It was unfortunate to see Vidro was benched for this
Yeah.
game. He ended up playing 5 midfielders. They're just above the relegation zone. They mentioned that to Sean Dyche in the interview, and Sean Dyche was like, what about Brighton, bro? They're like right next to us. Like...
Classic Sean Dyche.
I know, right? But they nearly opened the scoring in that game, right? With Chris Wood, I honestly thought the goal should have stood. Henderson has looked kind of shaky in that since he's come back. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, Tarkowski's first goal for the season. Burnley looked good in attack, man. I honestly think they could possibly nick something against Wolves. Like, Wood is looking pretty lethal at the moment. Alright, Ross, let's make some predictions for this game.
3-1 United. Oh, sorry, what am I saying? 2-2. Wait, no. What game are we on? Wolves versus Burnley, right? Yeah.
We're on Wolves Burnley,
yeah,
bro.
2-2. Yeah. Classic Ross.
Alright. Ross, I'm going to give Burnley this win. I think, you know what? Their performances finally need to have a result match it. And I don't think Wolves have that many goals in them. So yeah, Burnley, I'll give them a 2-1 win. Ross, what picks are you going to suggest from this? And how dare you even have that second asset as a suggestion?
So Dendonker, 34% owned, and Ait Nouri, 31% owned. I am going back. I should listen to my own advice. I was gonna pick him up, and if I picked him up, I would have definitely won. So, you know what? Like, that's what you get for not listening to yourself.
You know what? I'm gonna make sure I talk to you before every game this game week, even though it's against me. I'll still give you good advice. Alright, for Burnley, I'm gonna suggest Vidra, 11% owned. Still can't believe he's that low, but I mean, he was benched for this game, right? He looked lively when he came on. Hopefully he starts this game. Westwood, 49% owned. I think there was a recent drop in him. But Westwood tends to go on this like late runnish form where he just starts racking up a bunch of key passes, racking up a bunch of assists from all his set piece and corner duties. So you know what? Have at thee. Let's look at the next game though. Leeds versus Manchester United. So Leeds drew to Liverpool, right? Couple notes about them. They had no Rafinha for this game. Harrison was really good against you guys, I must say. Bamford hit the post. Roberts also played really, really well.
Yeah.
Llorente, we've been shouting him on the pod recent few weeks. He got the goal against you guys. I don't think anyone would have started him.
No.
Right?
Urva didn't. Urva had him. Urva didn't start him either. You know what? Like, I don't blame him.
Go.
So.
Yeah. It's a difficult one to make a call on, especially when Nat Phillips was like missing out, etc., etc. Alright, for Manchester United, they got their win against Burnley, the 3-1, right? Greenwood with the brace, Cavani with the third goal, even though he came off the bench. Fuck Luke Shaw. I had to face him in one of my game weeks. What a monster. Like, this guy just keeps getting key pass after key pass. I mean, Gareth Southgate surely has to start both Rashford and Luke Shaw on that left side for England. Because they've developed quite a partnership.
Exactly.
But yeah, Greeny, I was happy to waiver him in. He honestly could have had a hat-trick. His first chance at tap-in should have scored that one.
Exactly.
But biggest regret, I would say, from the season has to be picking Martial ahead of Rashford in our draft. Never ever will I make that mistake again.
But you know what? You know you will. You know you will.
Yeah, you know what? I always make my first 5 picks are usually garbage. And you know what? Everything after that, I recover. I love picking up those players that no one knows about. And your brother has a knack for that as well. But you know what? Last point on United. Bruno's dummy for that Greenwood goal. Oh, that was so pretty, man.
For the team.
Alright. Yeah, for the team. There you go. Alright, Ross, let's make some predictions.
1-3 United. Again.
Alright, I'm gonna go for a Ross special for this one.
2-2?
2-2. Yeah. Just because I think Leeds look a lot better than they did from when they lost that 6-1 or whatever. Like, Dallas is in midfield a lot more. I just feel like they're a lot more defensively stable with him playing in the center of the park.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cleek might be back too, so we don't know how they'll line up in that sense, right? Picks, yeah, so picks for this game. Cleek is 53% owned, but you might still be able to get him. I know we don't really shout out players who are more than 50% owned, but Tyler Roberts, kind of see if like Rafinha is back or not. But if not, Tyler Roberts had a really good game against Liverpool.
Yeah, he really did. For Manchester United, I don't think I could suggest any picks. Usually we'd suggest Fred, but I think he only played 44 minutes in this game or something like that. So yeah, I'm not sure you can get anyone from United. So start whoever boys are playing, really. Yeah. Let's move on to the next game. Aston Villa versus West Brom. So Aston Villa, they lost in the previous game week to Man City 2-1, even though they scored after 21 seconds. They had a really good start to the game, good energy. But after that, not much. Like, City dominated the game and Cash got a red card. So, you know what? They might leak some goals versus West Brom in this game week. You look at West Brom. West Barca Albion just didn't show up versus Leicester, man. Kelechi could have scored an easy 1v1, and that pretty much set the tone from the entire game. Yeah, they just found it hard to break out from their defensive block while Leicester was dominating possession. Like, everything got snuffed out by the likes of Ndidi and Tielemans. They struggled to build any play, and Matthias Pereira got taken off early. So yeah, terrible showing from the West Brom boys. Ross, any predictions for this game? Villa versus West Brom.
2-2.
I love it. Alright, I'm gonna give West Brom the win here though. I will say a 2-1 win to West Brom. Like, they're missing Matty Cash. I don't know, so...
Now that you mention it, my pick was actually going to be El Mohammadi because Matty Cash is suspended. El Mohammadi only 2% owned. So, you know, if you are a Matty Cash owner, this might be one of those games you pick up El Mohammadi, drop him later afterwards, so...
Yeah, Elmo's got some decent ghost points to him. For West Brom, the only two picks that I'm going to suggest, Johnston, 46% owned. I feel like he's just going to get you saves after saves. Like, West Brom are just going to concede chances. Like, and he's been smashing it over the last 4 game weeks. We tweeted him out as a pick, actually, this game week.
Yeah.
Didn't do well, but you know what? Positive points. And Matty Phillips, 7% owned. On some set pieces, he could do some damage against Villa. If you need a midfielder, go for him. Though, I wouldn't make it high on your priority list. Alright. Let's look at the last game for the game week, Leicester versus Crystal Palace. Again, some notes. Crystal Palace, we don't really have any notes because they were the one team that actually blanked this game week. And you know what, Ross, I think we can both agree that they're on the beach. They're probably going to concede. Like, I think the last thing I remember was Roy Hodgson complaining about how, like, lazy and how on the beach his team really is. And, like, how they're conceding goals.
They're not
so,
even
like,
anywhere near the beach. They're by the river. They're on the river bank.
Alright, so for Leicester, they also had 2 games this game week. The FA Cup versus Southampton. Kelechi scored the second chance from the 2 shots that he had in the box, coming from a Jamie Vardy chance created. He should have gotten the assist, but Kelechi didn't let him. Maddison also had a good few shots from outside the box for this game. But yeah, they kind of dominated against Southampton. Not much to say. For the league game, again, they also dominated against West Brom. Castagne got an assist, got 5 key passes in the first half, man. Really regret dropping him right now. You know, he even hit the post, so he could have gotten a goal as well. But yeah, thoroughly dominated West Brom, and Vardy looked like he could be coming back to his best, not gonna lie. He hit some serious form, got the goal, got the assist, and Crystal Palace up next. He could even possibly get a hat-trick, not gonna lie. Alright, so let's make a prediction for this last game. Leicester versus Crystal Palace.
Like all the points you said, 3-0, Leicester. I think it's going to be an easy win for them.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to even make it more. Let's go for 4-0, Ross. Or even 5-0. Yeah, you know what? 5-0. You know what? No. 5-1. Screw Leicester's clean sheet. Benteke gonna score a goal. Schlupp assist, you know? Fuck Leicester, bro. Alright, what are the picks you're going to suggest?
You just took away their clean sheet, but Luke Thomas, 12% owned. I know you kind of said like he's been playing trash, and he did play trash, but like he had a decent game this time around. Nothing too exciting, but you know what? Against a Crystal Palace, he might be able to hold his own.
Yeah, I mean, it's because Ricky P was benched for me, but I'm glad he kept him on the bench, so I got my auto sub for that. I mean, it will be interesting to see if Luke Thomas is gonna keep Ricky P on the bench, because Castagna moved from the left side to the right side as well, right?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, actually, whether or not Castagna performs better on one side versus the other. So that's something that, we could probably look at. Speaking of analysis, I still never got back about that Lingard being one of the best January picks ever.
You know what?
Promise,
We've been busy.
I did not forget.
We've been busy.
I will add it. Yeah, we've been busy. So I'll write that down right now. Lingard January analysis. All right, it's on the notes. All right, so the pick that I'm going to suggest from Crystal Palace, Jeffrey Schlupp, only 11% owned, but that's if he starts, right? I feel like he's going to get that assist for the Banter goal. Just saying. All right, Ross. So those are the predictions. Those are the picks. Those are the discussions. I think we did a good job with the new format. Even though we were supposed to record a lot shorter, it still went really... It felt long and rushed, but I think we still gave the listeners some quality information, right?
I think so.
So, Ross, before we wrap things up, why don't you remind listeners and fans how they can find us and engage with us?
So you can find us on social media, on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle's @BanterB. On Discord, our username is BanterBoys #6585. On Reddit, our username is u/banter_boys. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud, and YouTube under the name of Banter Boys.
So yeah, go check us out. Give us some likes, give us some comments. If you heard something you didn't like, DM us. Don't post it on our wall because, make us feel a little better. But you know what? Interact with us. Send us a like, send us a message. Let us know what you liked about the podcast. If you want a shout out, even, DM us. We don't mind doing random shout outs, right? But, we love all the engagement that we've been getting on Reddit, on Discord. It's been so much fun engaging with fans from all over the world, man. It really has been. Ross, do you have any sort of notes or looking forward to anything this game week? I know we're playing each other. It's a massive fixture, must-win game for you. I want to give you the win, but at the same time, I also
Please,
need to win,
Sanji.
buddy.
No, yeah. Playing you, I'm playing you in the OG League. I really hope I beat you. And I want you to lose in the Banter Boys so then the week after I can become second. So,
ladies and gentlemen, my co-host. Oh man, yeah. I believe I am playing. I'll tell you who in the Banter Boys League. I am playing Justin. So I mean, it could be a big game for him, right? Because he's kind of tied in those playoff spots. I'm sure he will want to adjust his position to determine who he plays out of the, gets the easier route in the playoffs, basically, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I think, Ross, we can sign off. And listeners, we will catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.